January 30th, 1961. Draft A. Memorandum for the record. Subject, Project MKUltra, Subproject 42. 1. Subproject 42 is to be continued for the same purposes as when originally established, to support censored, covert, and realistic field trials of certain research and development items of interest to TSD, and to maintain physical facilities required for these trials. 2. In the past year, a number of covert and realistic field trials have been successfully carried out. The results of these experiments have provided factual data essential to establishing protocols for a number of contemplated operations. A continuation of covert and realistic field trials are necessitated by the production of new materials in TSD programs, particularly in areas requiring detailed knowledge of the effectiveness and efficiency of delivery systems. Additional trials are also necessitated by the need for better controlled, quote, field types, end quote, experiments. 3. The estimated cost of the project is $5,000 for a period of 6 months. Charges should be made against allotment 1125, 1390, 3902. 4. Accounting for funds and equipment under this sub-project has been established on a detailed basis with the auditor and will continue as in the past. The end of page 153, the beginning of page 154. 5. Censored is approved for top secret by the agency and operates undercover for purposes of this sub-project. You have a censored bit of text, and then underneath it says TSD/research branch. To the left side it says approved for obligation of funds. Underneath you have censored text, and then underneath you have an area where it says date, and it's blank. Right above the line where you would have the date written, there seems to be, I'm not sure what that is, but it's illegible. Underneath it says distribution original only. That is the end of page 154, beginning page 155. 24 January, what may say 1955. Memorandum for the record. Subject, Project MKUltra, Subproject 42. 1. Subproject 42 is being established to provide for the continued support of the censored facilities, and as such, is a continuation of Subproject 16. Under Subproject 42, it is intended that the censored facilities be moved from censored to censored. These facilities in the new location will continue to provide a means for the realistic testing of certain R&D items of interest to CD/TSS and APD/TSS. 2. Subproject 42 will be conducted by Mr. Censored, a seaman. Certain support activities will be provided by CD/TSS and APD/TSS. 3. The estimated cost for a period of 1 year is $8,300, starting 1st March 1955. Then you have a signature, and underneath in print it says Sidney Gottlieb, Chief, TSS/Chemical Division. Approved for obligation of funds. You have a censored name or block of text. And underneath you have Research Director. To the right you have approved for additional obligation of funds, $2,089.34. You have a censored name, censored text, and then you have Research Director. And you have two dates. Looks like it is June 27th, 1955. One moment. On the one hand, it might say June 27th, June 1955, but then on the right it says June 27th, 1956. Okay. It's the end of page 155. Oh yeah, and it says original only. Beginning page 156. 21 March 1955. Memorandum for the record. Subject, Project MKUltra. Subproject 45. 1. The scope of this project is intended to encompass all of those activities now engaged in by the censored in its own facilities under the direction of TSS Chemical Division. These activities will take the form of 3 lines of biochemical investigation, namely the cure-like effect of certain thiols, the preparation of hydrogenated quinolines, and indole alkaloids, and the continued study of diphenolic compounds. In addition to the above investigations, the present biological testing and assaying techniques will be elaborated and broadened to include cardiovascular and anti-carcinogenic effects of compounds resulting from the above programs. 2. The attached proposal from censored indicates the extent of the investigations that his facilities will allow him to carry out on the materials developed in the 3 lines of research referred to in paragraph 1, as well as certain other materials of interest to TSS/CD. Censored also serves as a general consultant to this division and provides cut out facilities to the agency. 3. The total cost of this project for a period of 1 year will not exceed $100,000. At the present time, the sum of $40,000 is being committed, the balance of the total to be committed at a later date. 4. Censored has been granted a top secret clearance by the agency and is fully capable of protecting the security of the government's interest in this matter. So you have the censored name, TSS Chemical Division, approved for obligation of funds, censored, Research Director, censored, Chief, TSS/Chemical Division, date 24 May 55, approved for additional appropriation of $27,000, censored, Research Director. Attachments, proposal, original only, date might say June 2nd, 1955. I'm not sure. Yeah, and the end of page 156, beginning of page 157. 30 January 1956. Memorandum for the record. Subject, Project MKUltra, Subproject 45. 1. The scope of this project is intended to encompass all those activities now engaged in by the censored under the direction of TSS/CD. These activities take on the form of 3 lines of biochemical investigation, namely the Curar-like effect of certain thiols, the preparation of hydrogenated quinolines and indole alkaloids, and a program of investigation of toxic cerebral states. This last investigation will include bioassay and chemical analysis of various body fluids of animals in which cerebral toxemias have been produced. It is the aim of this program to endeavor to understand the mechanism of such states as toxic delirium, uremic coma, and cerebral toxicity from poisoning, in order to continue the established cover activities of the censored, and to make available a pool of subjects for testing purposes. The censored and censored effects of compounds resulting from the above program will be evaluated. 2. The attached proposal from censored indicates the extent of the investigations that his facilities will allow him to carry out on the materials developed in the 3 lines of research referred to in paragraph 1, as well as certain other materials of interest to TSS/CD. Censored also serves as a general consultant to this division and provides cover and cutout facilities to the agency. 3. The total cost of this project for a period of 1 year will not exceed $100,000. Charges should be made against allotment 6-2502-10-001. 4. Censored has been requested to submit a summary accounting or a copy of the censored annual audit report to be made available for the sponsor's inspection. Also, it has been requested that any unexpected funds shall be returned to the agency. 5. Title to any permanent equipment purchased by funds granted censored shall be retained by the censored in lieu of higher overhead rates, other than its activities as cutout. Then you have a note here which has 2 lines through it. Downgraded to confidential by authority of, some numbers are illegible, but it might say 7475. Date, June, illegible. E2, largely illegible. CL by 187475. That's the end of page 157, beginning of page 158. 6. It was mutually agreed that the documentation and accounting for travel expenses, which are normally reimbursable by the censored, shall conform with the accepted practices of the censored. 7. Censored agreed to comply with the requirements of the Memorandum of Agreement. Censored, TSS/Chemical Division, approved. And you have a signature, Chief, TSS/Chemical Division. Approval for obligation of funds, censored, Research Director, date, my apologies, I cannot read that. Attachment, proposal, distribution, original only. Similar note to the previous page. It's the end of page 158, beginning page 159. 1960. The research to be undertaken during the 12-month period for which financial support is requested will be devoted to the continued analysis of the neural and endocrine mechanism of stress and the chemical agents that influence it. The screening procedures are based largely upon a further analysis of phases of stress and the influences of this psychological behavior complex upon both body and akin temperatures as detailed in the accompanying report. The chemical synthesis of new compounds will be continued at the censored, under the supervision of censored, and at the censored, under the supervision of censored. These chemical agents will be screened for their capacity to provoke stress or to suppress the stress reaction in its acute or chronic phases. Animal testing will include pharmacologic screening and proper toxicity studies of these compounds as heretofore. Chemical agents that have been found active and within a suitable toxicity range will be subjected to clinical screening on appropriate patients, the initial screening being carried out on advanced cancer patients. The amount of money devoted to chemical synthesis, however, has been further reduced. Chemical compounds available from biological sources as well as those synthesized in the project will be screened, particularly those that are active in either raising or lowering body temperature. As heretofore, any agents which prove to be of interest, and then there's a portion of text that is cut out. Most of it is illegible. It may say further evaluation both on transplant, and then that's it. That's the end of page 159, beginning page 160. Animal tumors and on cancer patients. This cancer phase of the project will be considered a byproduct of the major objective, which will be directed to the problem of stress. Warning notice. Sensitive intelligence sources and methods involved. That's the end of page 160. Beginning page 161. Memorandum for the record, continuation of MKULTRA subproject number 45. 1. The scope of this subproject includes all those activities now engaged in by censored under the direction of TSD. Brief note, it says TSS/CD, but there's a strike through line, where there's a line through it, and then it has handwritten above it, TSD/R. I'm not sure what that is, if it's a number 3 or if it was supposed to be the letter B. I'm not sure. Continuing the reading. With the exception of those cutout functions specifically mentioned in connection with other MKULTRA subprojects. In general, the research effort under this subproject will continue along the lines laid down in previous years. These involve the synthesis and pharmacological and clinical evaluation of compounds of those chemical families known to have application in the psychochemical and K fields. During the past year, important progress has been made in the area related to stressor compounds and the relationship of these materials to the psychological pathways through which both stress and the reaction to it are mediated in human beings. As is indicated in the attached proposal, the work of the past year has progressed to the point where more definitive experiments on the stress reaction can be carried out. Primarily, this was brought about by the characterization of several new materials which produce stress reaction in humans and the application of some new clinical methods of measuring the extent of the disturbance produced. During the next year, proportionally more effort will be expended on the problem of the development of new. End of page 161, beginning of page 162. Quote, knockout, end quote, types of agents, since progress has been slower than is desirable in this direction, and because a new approach to the problem has been worked out. 2. Censored also serves as a general consultant to the agency, provides services of a sensitive nature on an ad hoc basis, and serves as a cutout in procurement problems. 3. The total cost of this project for a period of 1 year will not exceed $71,500. And then right above the printed amount of money, you have what looks to be $40,500. Resuming the reading. Charges should be made against allotment 0525-1009-4902. 4. Censored has been requested to submit a summary accounting or a copy of the fund's annual audit report for the sponsor's inspection. Also, it has been requested that any unexpected funds shall be returned, any unexpended funds shall be returned to the agency. 5. Title to any permanent equipment purchased by funds granted, censored shall be retained by censored, in lieu of higher overhead rates. 6. It was mutually agreed that documentation and accounting for travel expenses, which are normally reimbursed by censored, shall conform with the accepted practices of the fund. Downgraded to confidential by authority of 187475, date June 1977, E2 IMPDET, what looks to be a colon or semicolon, CL by 187475. End of page 162, beginning of page 163. Memorandum for the record. Subject, continuation of MKULTRA, subproject number 45. 1. The scope of this subproject includes all those activities now engaged in by censored under the direction of TSD/RB, with the exception of those cutout functions specifically mentioned in connection with other MKULTRA subprojects. In general, the research effort under this subproject will continue along the lines laid down in previous years. These involve the synthesis and pharmacological and clinical evaluation of compounds of those chemical families known to have application in the psychochemical and quote K end quote fields. During the coming years, it is planned to concentrate more directly on the more practical aspects of the quote knockout end quote problem. Enough new potent substances have become available lately to make such a change in emphasis worthwhile. In connection with this change, it should be noted that certain findings made in censored project at censored, which cannot be further exploited at the facility, will be pursued at censored in the future. For this reason, it may be necessary to supplement the findings of this subproject from time to time during the year due to increases of scope 2. Censored also serves as a general consultant to the agency, provides services of a sensitive nature on an ad hoc basis, and serves as a cutout in procurement problems. End of page 163, beginning of page 164. 3. The total cost of this project for a period of 1 year will not exceed $40,000. Charges should be made against allotment 2125-1390-3902. 4. Censored has been requested to submit a summary accounting or a copy of the fund's annual audit report for the sponsor's inspection. Also, it has been requested that any unexpended funds shall be returned to the agency. 5. Title to any permanent equipment purchased by funds granted, censored shall be retained by censored in lieu of higher overhead rates. 6. It was mutually agreed that documentation and accounting for travel expenses, which are normally reimbursable by censored, shall conform with the accepted practices of the fund. Censored, Chief TSD/Research Branch. Approval for obligation of funds. Censored, Research Director. Date, blank, or illegible. Attachment, proposal and budget. Distribution, original only. End of page 164, beginning of page 165. Draft, 24 January 1964. Some cursive handwriting. 31 June 64. Memorandum for the record. Subject MKULTRA. Subproject 149. 1. This subproject is being established for the purpose of supporting realistic tests of certain development items and delivery systems of interest to TSG/BB. 2. During the course of development, it is sometimes found that certain very necessary experiments or tests are not suited to ordinary laboratory facilities. At the same time, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to conduct such tests as operational field tests. This project is designed to provide a capability and facility to fill this immediate requirement. 3. Activities under this subproject will be conducted by Mr. Censored, an individual in the import and export business. In Censored, Mr. Censored holds a top secret Treasury Department clearance and a secret agency approval. He is completely witting of the aims and goals of his activities. 4. Mr. Censored possesses unique facilities and personal abilities which make him invaluable in this kind of testing operation. Mr. Censored, because of his peculiar talents and end of page 165, beginning of page 166, capabilities, as well as his excellent connections with all of the local law enforcement agencies, will provide a unique and essential capability. Because Mr. Censored is no longer resident of the censored area, it is necessary that a suitable replacement be provided in order that a capability for continuance of the activities be maintained. 5. The estimated cost of the project is $10,000 for a period of 1 year. Charges should be made against allotment number 4125-1390- 3902. Reimbursement will be made for services rendered. 6. Accounting for funds advanced and any equipment under this subproject will be in accordance with accounting procedures established by the censored. And then you have in handwriting what it looks like it says administrative. I'm unable to read that. And then there is some censored handwriting, it seems. 7. A memorandum of agreement along lines established by previous audit recommendations in like situations will be executed. Censored. Chief TSD/biological branch. Distribution original only. End of page 166. Beginning of page 167. Subject: request for support of research on the mechanism of brain concussion. 1. This is a request for the financial support for research on the mechanism of brain concussion for the period 1 February 1956 to 1 February 1957. 2. The resonance cavitation theory upon which this research is to be based has been presented in the proposal submitted to the censored, date 27 March 1954. 3. The program as originally submitted estimated the duration of the program to be from 3 to 5 years, requesting a total of $72,109 for the initial year. 4. At the request of the censored, a reduced budget was submitted. 5. Censored, amounting to $24,925, was then awarded to the censored to support this program from 1 February 1955 to 1 February 1956. 6. The progress made to date under the above contract can be summarized as follows. A. Research facilities. The following research facilities have been established for the investigation of the very diverse aspects of the problems being studied. Subsection A. Censored. A total of 2,500 square feet of laboratory and office space equipped with much of the diversified machinery and apparatus necessary for the research in this field. Subsection B. Or blast range. A blast range has been established at censored, located approximately censored of the main laboratory. This area is owned by the censored and is closed to the public. 3 blast test series have been run to date. C. Censored. Arrangements have been made with the censored for use of their human cadavers. A test area has been assigned for this. Warning notice. Illegible, intelligence, illegible, and methods involved. End of page 167, beginning of page 168. B. Personnel. Both full-time technical personnel and part-time professional research personnel have been acquired and indoctrinated relative to their specific function. C. Technical progress. Following is the technical progress made under the current censored contract. A. Specialized instrumentation and numerous testing techniques have been developed to obtain the desired dynamic data. B. Considerable data has now been obtained supporting the resonance cavitation theory of brain concussion. C. Preliminary acceleration threshold data has been obtained for a fluid-filled gas simulated skull. D. Data has been obtained on the nature and the magnitude of pressure fluctuations within a gas simulated skull subject to either impact or sound waves propagated in the air. E. Initial studies have been made on the simulated glass skull attempting to establish the cavitation patterns for various types of impact. 7. The proposed method and program plan remain the same as stated in the original proposal, except for the temporary deletion of the immersion blast study. 8. The current level of activity on this project can be indicated by the most recent billings to the censored for the month of November, which amounted to $4,034.61. 9. In the interest of efficiency and economy, it is requested that at least this level of activity be maintained for the coming year. Warning notice: sensitive intelligence, censored or illegible, and methods involved. End of page 168, beginning page 169. 10.0. Illegible affiliations of the illegible. 10.1. Trotter W. defines brain concussion as, quote, an essentially transient state due to head injury which is of instantaneous onset, manifests widespread symptoms of purely paralytic kind, does not as such comprise any evidence of structural cerebral injury, and is always followed by amnesia for the actual moment of the accident, end quote. 10.2. The implication of the underlined portion of the above statement is that if a technique were devised to induce brain concussion without giving either advance warning or causing external physical trauma, the person upon recovery would be unable to recall what happened to him. Under these conditions, the same technique of producing the concussion could be reused many times without disclosure of its nature. 10.3. First, considering the possibilities of direct impact to the head or body, it should be possible from the findings of this research program to determine the following. A. Optimum design of impacting devices. B. Optimum points of impact on skull or body for the specific effects desired. C. Intensity of the blow for the effect desired. 10.4. In regards to the potential impacting devices, there are certain design requisites that are apparent at this time. A. The impact should be delivered without advance warning. B. The area of impact and force distribution should be that surface trauma does not occur. C. The intensity of the impacting force and its duration should be such as to obtain the desired effect. D. The device should be as small and as silent as possible. 10.5. The specific impacting device might take the form of any of the following. A. A pancake-type blackjack giving high peak impact force with a low unit surface pressure. B. concealed or camouflaged spring-loaded impacting devices that trigger upon contact with the head. Original and sole copy. End of page 169. Beginning of page 170. C. Projectile type impactor such as an air gun using a small shot-filled sac for a projectile. D. An explosive pad detonated in contact with the head or the body. (10.6) Let us now consider the possibilities of exciting the resonance cavitation directly without impact. There is considerable evidence that resonance cavitation can be induced directly in the following ways. A blast wave propagated in the air. Blast concussion. B. Physical excitation with a mechanical driver or horn tuned to the resonant frequency of the head. 10.7 A single blast pressure wave propagated in air must have considerable intensity in order to produce brain concussion. However, there is considerable evidence, Kavar and Dinsley, that modification of the pressure wave can produce profound effects. 10.8 Excitation of the resonance cavitation by using a tuned driver at this time appears to be well within the realm of possibility. The neurotic-like manifestations normally associated with blast concussion could possibly be induced by this method. Use of this method, however, would require actual physical contact with the drivers. 10.9 Excitation of the resonance cavitation by attuned sound waves also appears to be a reasonable possibility. Concentration of the sound field at some remote point could be affected with the acoustical lenses and reflectors. The blast duration would be in order of 1/10 of a second. Masking of a noise of this duration should not be too difficult. 11.0 It would be possibly advantageous to establish the effectiveness of both the above methods as a tool in brainwash therapy. A full knowledge of the method and the result sequela should be of aid to any person forced to submit to such treatment. 12.0 Possibly the most significant potential aspect of this study would be in the development of practical means of giving a person immunity, even though temporary, to brain concussion. One technique that appears to have potentialities involves the introduction of a small quantity of gas, approximately 1 cc, into the spinal cord. This gas bubble would then normally migrate to the ventricles located at the centrum of the brain. The ability of this bubble to expand under dynamic loading would be most effective in preventing resonance cavitation from occurring. The end of page 170. Beginning page 171. Material for the record. MK Search, often/Chickwit. MK Search was the name given to the continuation of the MKULTRA program. Funding commenced in FY 1966 and ended in FY 1972. Its purpose was to develop, test, and evaluate capabilities in the covert use of biological, chemical, and radioactive material systems, and techniques for producing predictable human behavior and/or psychological changes in support of highly sensitive operational requirements. Often/Chickwit. In 1967, the Office of Research and Development, ORD, at the Edgewood Arsenal Research Laboratories undertook a program for doing research on the identification and characterization of drugs that could influence human behavior. Edgewood had the facilities for the full range of laboratories and clinical testing. A phased program was envisioned that would consist of acquisition of drugs and chemical compounds believed to have effects on the behavior of humans, and testing and evaluating these materials through laboratory procedures and toxicological studies. Compounds believed promising as a result of testing on animals were then to be evaluated clinically with human subjects at Edgewood. Substances of potential use would then be analyzed structurally as a basis for identifying and synthesizing possible new derivatives of greater utility. The program was divided into two projects. Project Often was to deal with testing the toxicological, transmissivity, and behavioral effects of drugs in animals, and ultimately humans. Project Chickwit was concerned with acquiring information on new drug developments in Europe and the Orient, and with acquiring samples. There is discrepancy between the testimony of DoD and CIA regarding the testing at Edgewood Arsenal in June 1973. While there is agreement that human testing occurred at that place and time, there is disagreement as to who was responsible for financing and sponsorship. See hearings before the Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research of the Senate Human Resources Committee, September 21st, 1977. End of page 171. Beginning page 172. The Director of Central Intelligence, Washington, D.C., 20505. Office of Legislative Counsel, 23 December 1977. Honorable Daniel K. Inouye, Chairman, Select Committee on Intelligence, United States Senate, Washington, D.C., 20510. Dear Mr. Chairman, during Admiral Turner's 3rd August 1977 testimony before your committee and the Senate Human Resources Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research, you asked whether any agency employees have been terminated because of their participation in MKULTRA Subproject 3. Admiral Turner indicated he did not believe any employee had been terminated, but would have agency records searched on this question. Our records have been searched, and results confirm the director's testimony that no such actions were taken. Sincerely, George L. Carey, Legislative Counsel. The end of page 172, beginning of page 173. Killtop definition. Killtop was a cryptonym assigned in 1954 to a project to study Chinese communist brainwashing techniques and to develop interrogation techniques. Most of the early studies are believed to have been conducted by the Cornell University Medical School Human Ecology Study programs. The effort was absorbed into the MKUltra program, and the Killtop cryptonym became obsolete. The Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology, later the Human Ecology Fund, was an outgrowth of the Killtop. That is the end of page 173. and therefore the end of this document reading. So that is it for this recording. I intend to start a series on this subject here. Foreign and Military Intelligence, Book 1, Final Report of the Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities, United States Senate, together with additional, supplemental, and separate views. April 26th, Legislative Day, April 14th, 1976. This document here, I intend to start it. And of course, I'm doing my other project, which is reading Volume 1 of Michelangelo Aquino's Temple of Set book. So, that is it. I will end this recording now.